Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be doing this interview. I have an amazing person, just kind and really excited to do this interview because we have some fun history together, and our we go way back before I was a coach even,
Right.
and so it's just kind of fun to be doing this interview and talking to Bob here about his story and sharing that with you guys to hope inspire for all of you to believe that anyone can do this, and I'm just really excited. So Bob, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Hi, my name is Zack Boothe, and I help people just like you consistently find massively discounted properties all across the country so you can fix and flip, buy and hold, or wholesale real estate. If you need help, I have a ton of free resources, including an absolutely free wholesaling course. Click on the link in the show notes to get access to those free resources, or you can go to dfdmastery.com, click on free resources, and get access to all the free content.
Sure. All right, Jack. I appreciate it. It's an honor.
Of course. So I love that you have the rhino behind you.
Hey, there we go.
And everyone see that rhino. So I assume that's inspired by the wholesaling Inc. tribe.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, I was talking with you briefly yesterday. I mean, our history goes back just about 2 years ago. I joined the tribe back in, well, it was towards the end of 2018, and within about a month or so, I connected with you, and yeah, it's been a while, so I'm glad to be reconnecting.
For sure. So, the Rhino Tribe is a coaching company, right? The Wholesaling Inc. is a coaching company that both Bob and I were students of, and we're grateful for what they did for us and everything else. We were both just co-students in that, and we got connected. I don't really remember exactly what happened, but I know. I don't know if you reached out to me or if you just posted a question and I decided to help you. What happened there?
I was on Facebook. I think you had posted something, and I reached out to you, and then you just basically responded back saying, "Hey, you want to jump on a quick call?" I was maybe just a few weeks into it, so I'm like, "Sure, let's do it." And I can remember the call because you had asked me what I was struggling with, and within about 2 minutes we were role playing and doing some other crazy things. So it was kind of exciting, but it helped me quite a bit. Early on with what I was struggling with, just the chance to talk to somebody like you who's already had some success. It was it kind of helped me to get on course and move me in the right direction.
I love it. Well, I've always been very interested in helping other people, and it's kind of funny that I ended up becoming a coach and like having a coaching business, because I did that with you, like just because if I felt like it,
Right, right.
and so it's funny. I do remember that. I remember, and the funny thing is like the role playing thing, like that's normal for me. I remember when I was a missionary in Brazil, and our goal was to convert more people, right? That's the goal of a
Right.
missionary. And I had leadership positions as a missionary, and so I was teaching other missionaries, pretty much sales tactics, honestly, right? I mean, we're selling religion. That's the hardest thing in the world to sell, and we're having to sell in a whole nother language. And so that was a challenge in my life. But I was this 19-year-old kid teaching 19-year-old kids how to do it, and so it was the blind leading the blind, I guess you could say. But I remember I would role play with them all the time. I would be the investigator, and they would be the missionary, and then I would say the kinds of things that they would say and help them overcome objections and help them build relationships. And so very similar to what we do now with sellers, like, are we a fit for them or not? Are we going to help them or not? Right. That's what we're trying to get to the root of. And I remember I had a handful of missionaries in the group that I was leading that were struggling to talk to people. They were scared to like get out of their own bubble. And
Mhm.
so I came up with this crazy idea that we'd take the Book of Mormon, and I made them stand up on a bucket in the church and like scream about it like they were screaming to a group of people. I wanted all of our missionaries in our area to, like, when they got on a bus, I wanted them to go to the front of the bus and like hold up the Book of Mormon and yell about that they were going to give it away and stuff. And so it's just kind of fun that, like, I had some of those experiences, and now, being able to help students in such similar ways and teaching them how to talk to people and being comfortable. And so it's just kind of funny that life happens and some of those experiences, and every time you serve and give back and help other people, how, like, that really just ends up blessing your life anyways, because
Right.
you gain skills from things like that. So
Exactly. Yeah. And something I learned just through your experience and hearing the messages from Tom Kroll and Cody Hoffine, really the way you become successful is, or the way that you increase your value is by providing value to others. So the more value you provide, the more valuable you become, in essence.
I love it. Bob, I'm sure everyone's very excited to hear your story. So let's rewind before you became a student of Wholesaling Inc. And before you got to know me, before you got into my course and my program, like, let's hear, like, where were you before real estate?
Right. So that's, in fact, I mentioned it to you. It was 2 years ago to the day that that I was actually working in the corporate world. I was a analytical lab manager, managing a group of chemists. And I knew, I was really never satisfied in corporate America. I've been there for 20 years. And, it's corporate world is very political. So I was just never satisfied, I never felt that was my calling. And so I went through it. I was making a good salary, doing things that I didn't mind, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't very rewarding. So I knew that it was coming to an end because they were starting to downsize within my company. And I knew that I got to get my act together because I'll probably be one of the people that will be let go. And I started researching, found some information about how to be successful, how to make money yourself, and real estate was the answer. So I came across, it was the Tom Kroll video or podcast through oh gosh, what's the name of that now? I can't even think of it. But it was a podcast that Tom did, and he was just crazy, insane, full of energy. And I said, I got to learn out a little bit more about this. So
was it the Bigger Pockets podcast?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
yeah, it was crazy how much energy he had. So
he does, right?
Yeah. So I jumped in. I bought the Wholesaling Inc. Training course. That was back in the fall of 2018. I lost my job, and that Monday I just jumped right in and started doing it full time. And by the end of the year, by December of 2018, I started locking up my first few deals.
Love it. So a few months doing your deals. And what do you think was, like, the big thing that got you to those first few deals?
So I was, when I was let go, I was given a chunk of cash. I had about 6 months to survive. And I thought in the back of my head, if I don't make it within 3 months, I've got 3 more months to find another job. So I just figured that I need to do exactly what the course suggests. I just need to follow it. And that's what I did. I mean, it talked about getting cash buyers. It talked about sending direct mail. It talked about being uncomfortable, doing uncomfortable things, and just failing forward. And so I just said, I've got nothing else to lose. For 3 months, this is all I'm going to do. I dedicated my time 100%. And I marketed more than I was comfortable with. I was going on appointments before I was comfortable doing that. I was saying things that I wasn't familiar with, but that's the whole process, because ultimately you just have to go, and learn as you take steps forward. I was terrible at first. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was willing to give it a try. And so by doing that, I stumbled a few times, and then lo and behold, I got a call from a motivated seller. I went to the appointment, that was within 24 hours.
Mhm.
I met with her. I listened to her. I made her an offer, and I didn't do it perfect, but you don't have to be perfect, right? You just have
Right.
to be in the right position and do your best. Because at the end of the day, all you have is, it's one of those things that if you just do everything you can, it's enough. And so I got that under contract. I found a
So,
buyer.
so many people are so afraid to do everything they can too, though, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah. It's kind of funny.
how did you overcome that fear?
Well, I mean, I didn't have anything else. So it was like, I didn't have much of a safety net. So I'm like, I burned the ships. I just jumped in and said, this is it. This is, I want to make this work. I'm tired of the corporate world. And so I just committed 100%. And at the end of the day, you just have to get out of your own way, because when you work at this, you are going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. And a lot of times I think what people do is they do that and they're not comfortable with it. Like, no one likes to fail, but you just have to take the next step, right? You have to answer the next call. You have to go on the next appointment. You have to make an offer, try to get better at what you're doing. And then, you start building momentum, and then more success will lead to more and more success. So that's really, there's nothing magical about it. Just making sure that you put energy into it, or be consistent at taking action every day.
Love it. So I have some, I actually want to create some clarity for the listeners. So I'm not affiliated with Wholesaling Inc. at all, right? I was a student. I believe in their product. I think they're great. I don't get paid to say that. And I don't believe you do either. I also, you could say Wholesaling Inc. is a competitor of mine, but I don't look at it that way. I look at it as we both help people get their first deal, right? And we help people be successful in real estate wholesaling. And I'm grateful for what they did for me. And so with that being said, you started doing deals following Wholesaling Inc.'s teaching methods and course and so forth, which is wonderful. So why in the world then did you pay me for me to mentor you?
Well, so let's go there. I mean, it was a little over a year ago. I came across your information that you were providing, your Driving for Dollars Mastery course. And I jumped on a quick call that you had. It was just I don't know if it was a Zoom call or if it was just I think a phone call that we had in the beginning. And you just started sharing information. And I looked at that and I'm like, there's a ton of value in this. Because what I'm doing is, I'm doing it based on what I learned, but you provided information in there. In fact, I got one of the things right here. This is one of my cards that I have that I wrote up. That's just from, directly from your course, that talks about getting to the why. That's when I'm having a conversation with a seller and they're kind of humming and hawing about, where if they're truly motivated, they just want a price. Your course provides just fantastic information about the negotiation process and really getting directly to the point of finding the seller's why. At the end of the day, we spend a lot of time contacting, getting in touch with sellers, and we deal a lot with tire kickers. So the quicker you can find out if someone's just a tire kicker, the more time you're going to have focusing on value-added activities. So the information that you provide in your course was, right off the bat, I recognized that it was something that was a game changer. Your course is very reasonably priced, and you've continued to add more and more substance to it over time. So I look back at that now on a regular basis. I use that to screen my motivated sellers. I use that when I go on my appointments, talking through the negotiation process. I refer to it when I'm looking for. I've hired my first driver here within the last month, and that's all directly from the information you provide in your course.
Love it. So it's kind of funny because when I first started coaching, it was okay, I'm going to find people that already know how to wholesale, Right. And I'm just going to teach them my marketing system, right? Because that's what made me so successful. Like, yeah, I learned how to wholesale because of Wholesaling Inc., but I wasn't finding enough deals.
Right.
Right. So then I found this driving for dollar system and kind of came up with it and built it with my team. And then I started teaching it to some of my early students, but then I found they needed help with negotiations. So I built out a negotiations course. And then I found some students that are like, Zach, help me get my first deal. I've never done a deal.
Right.
So then I have a full-blown wholesaling course as well. So I have all of these things. So regardless of the experience level, I can help and add value to where you're at. And it's kind of funny because the negotiation course, I think, is like my most popular course in there. Like, it's the most popular, like you and so many other people. It's like, oh my goodness, like if I would have known this from, so much money on the table, I've missed out on so many deals I would have gotten. Right. So can you give us, the listeners, some examples of like, maybe one appointment that you use some of the negotiation strategies and what you said, what they said, so they have something that they can take from this and learn and implement in their own business. I don't want this just to be like a pitch for, hey, I can be a coach, pay me. I want this to help people. So.
Right. So one of the things that I learned, from your material is really being less interested in buying than they are in selling it. So I'm walking away from the dog the whole time. You
Which
talk
is scary, right? Because like, what if you lose the deal?
Right. So that's exactly it. The first time I'm there, I'm like, I don't want to tell them about a real estate agent. I don't want to try to change their opinion. But ultimately, that's what you need to do. And you're there to find out what their true motivation is. And so you focus on that. And, so I'm always utilizing tools of like, hey, you know what, your best option is probably going to be to use an agent. Have you even considered that? I just did that today. I went on an appointment today.
And people that hear that for the first time, they're like, wait, what? You told them not to work with you? What are you dumb?
Yeah, exactly.
So you said that to a lady today. What did she say?
So, she's in a position where it may or may not be a wholesale deal, but I spoke to her. I'm like, hey, look, your best option for the money is going to be to use an agent. They're always going to give you the best, top dollar, but these are the things that you need to consider when you use an agent, right? So I give her information, and I'm just straight matter of fact. You can get more money. You're going to be paying closing costs. You're going to be paying commissions. You're going to have people coming in and looking at your property at a moment's notice. You're going to have a punch list of things that you're going to have to fix in the property, and it'll take you, maybe 2 or 3 months. But if you're willing to do that, you're going to get the best dollar value, the best price for your home. So if you're willing to trade a little bit of equity for speed and convenience, then I may help. But I don't know. I got to, there's a lot of things that I need to look at. And so the whole time I'm always looking to walk away from the dog. And it's scary at first, but ultimately by doing that, if they're truly motivated, they're going to seek you out.
Yep. They're going to have another investor that shows up and goes, oh, well, we're the best fit and here's the lowest possible, here's the best price we can have. And it's very low. And like, they're okay. But they like you because you're authentic with them. People aren't stupid, right? They're not. Like, we work with affluent people. Some of my very first deals, some of my biggest deals were from investors. Like investors selling me their properties. My very first motivated seller was a window cleaning client, was a multi-million-dollar developer, and he had 2 rentals he didn't want to deal with anymore. I mean, 6 figures on those 2 houses, and he did it because he liked me. He did it. He knew he was giving them to me at a very fair price, but it's a convenience factor. And so when you walk in the door and you're transparent and honest, it's like, look, you can work with me or you cannot. Like, here's your options. They know their options, but they go, wow, they're not trying to convince me that I'm, they're my only option. They're like, I want to work with this person. That's part of it. But also part of it is people want to feel like they're in control of their own lives. They want to feel like they're in control of the situation. And so when you're saying you're giving them options and kind of walking away, they go, hey, wait. I do want to sell it to investor. What I do. And so they'll actually work with you. And so the cool thing too is you know, when I first got into this business and I heard people buying properties 50, 40, even 30 cents on the dollar, I thought that doesn't sound ethical. That sounds like you're taking advantage of other people.
Mhm.
And that kind of bothered me and kind of kept me at a distance for a while. And then I learned about this. I learned about, speed and convenience. And Tom, right, our mentor, taught that we're like a pawn shop for houses. People trade convenience for price all the time.
Right.
I don't know if you saw this, Bob. I did a YouTube video where I went and proved this concept that even affluent people trade convenience for price all the time. So I went to an affluent neighborhood and I started knocking on doors. And I said, hey, I have a mobile pawn shop. Do you have any junk you'd like to sell me? Right. And then I bought a go-kart and I bought junk out of their garages and turned around and doubled my money. I bought everything that I got for as low as 50 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
Right. Just to show that like people will trade convenience for price. They didn't have to take it to a pawn shop. I showed up and made it convenient for them. Right. I did an hour and 30 minutes and profited, doubled my money. And so it's the same thing with real estate, right? And so when you show up and you say, hey, look, there's convenience, here's an option or here's the other option. You can either list it on Craigslist and take the time to sell your junk, or, you can sell it to me right now as is. So beautiful. So you ended up getting my course. Where were you before my course? How many deals had you done?
So the first full year that I finished was 2019. I did 36 deals altogether.
Wow.
I got your course.
I don't think we said what market you're in.
Yeah, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. So I do Shelby County and then DeSoto County, which is Mississippi, just one county south of the Memphis area. So, but yeah, I did 36 deals. I got your course about a year ago, and I've been able to, I lost track of where I'm at for closing numbers wise, because I've got a couple deals that.
How cool is that?
Right now. Yeah. So it's awesome. I know that I think I'm right now, as of the end of September, I believe I'm at where I was last year. And in fact, I've got a couple months lining up. October is probably going to be the best month I've ever had, the way things are going. So yeah, the numbers are great.
So I kind of would like to break this down a little more granular for people to understand kind of where you're at and how you're finding your deals, if we're okay to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know roughly where your deals are coming from?
I do. I market to absentee owners. I use the Tom Kroll list. I do driving for dollars. I focus on tax delinquents. What else? Code violations. So that's all I do. I mean, there's other options out there, but I like those because they're usually big lists. Mm-hmm. And then I'll cycle through those. I'll send off about, right now I'm sending around 2,500 to 3,000 postcards a week. And I'm just doing all direct mail. I started doing some texting within the last 2 months, but I'm finding it to be a little bit challenging right now. So the level of motivated, the level of motivation for someone who receives a text from me is not the same level of motivation that I'm seeing for my direct mail. Yeah. So yeah, but that's where my leads are coming from, and it's all been through direct mail. I haven't had a lot of success with texting up to this point, but I've only been doing it for 2 months now.
So what list would you say would be like, let's say someone that's just getting started or done very few deals, what's the best list? What list would you tell them to start with?
I would jump on the tax delinquent list. That, to me, in my opinion, you're going to find the most motivated sellers out of all of those lists. You're going to be dealing with quite a few people, and you just have to kind of pick and choose what options you're going to have, and which properties you're going to go after. Some of them aren't going to be worth going after, but most of them will.
Is that the majority of your deals, tax delinquent?
They were when I first started. But I've been focusing on trying to increase my assignment size. So I've been targeting more the Tom Kroll list, absentee owners, and then I'm also looking at tax delinquents. But I've increased the minimum dollar value of the properties that I would even send marketing to. So the Memphis area, for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,000 to 1,200 square foot property is going to be in the range of around $90,000, and give or take 20 or 1,000. What the condition, the location, whatever. So that's my price point that I'm kind of going after. Tax delinquents will tend to bring me to neighborhoods that the values of those properties aren't as high. So what I'm doing is limiting my focus and just increasing the minimum dollar value of those properties, so that I'm not wasting my time chasing a $32,000 property.
Right. So so you said you did how many deals last year? 42?
36 for
36.
2019. Yep. And
Okay.
where I'm at right now, I believe I'm somewhere around 36 or 38. I've got 2 that should be closing tomorrow.
What's your average deal size?
So I've increased. Right now it's right around $9,400. But I've got about
fantastic. Which is fantastic for that market.
Yeah. The last 4, I've actually, my average is going to go up significantly. The last 4 deals I've got are, I had a $47,500 assignment, a $33,000, a $25,000, and a $33,000. So those are the last 4 that I'm working through.
Love it. So I want to share something interesting, a perspective. So in your market, your average price point's much lower, right? And I assume with that being the case, you have a lot higher percentage of rental properties. Is that true?
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the majority of rental, I mean, it's over 50%.
Yep.
Rentals.
Which is crazy because we're like 10 to 15% in my market, right? So in my market, the tax delinquent list is tough.
Yeah.
It's not a very profitable list. And so what I'm going to say is, for Bob, the tax delinquent list rocks because there's a lot of rental properties that are paid off and they're low end, and they're, that's probably a solid list if you live somewhere in the Midwest or in a market where you have lower price point properties, where you have a lot higher percentage. So we just opened a second market in Florida where our price point's much lower than here in Utah. And we are noticing that there's a lot higher percentage of rentals. And, in a list like a tax delinquent or a Tom Kroll list or an absentee owner list would be a lot more profitable than say somewhere like this. Right. That's the cool thing about the driving for dollars list, in my opinion, is regardless of the market, you're getting those rundown ugly properties. Right, where certain markets, like certain lists, are going to perform better than others. But that's a really cool perspective that the tax delinquent and the high equity, those are working so well in those lower end markets. So if you live in a market like that, that's a great list to start with. I mean, you can go pull that list. How would you pull that tax delinquent list? Let's give some listeners some action steps.
Sure. So you just have to. Ultimately, what I did is I just networked with other wholesalers. I was struggling, you got to go through the county, and I don't live in Tennessee. So I just came up.
Where do you live?
I live in DeSoto County, Mississippi. So it's 20 minutes south of Memphis, but it's in Mississippi rather than Tennessee. So at the end of the day, I didn't have access because I didn't live in the county that I was requesting the information from. So I just took a guy out and had a coffee and talked about sharing cash buyers lists and checked to see if he was willing to work with me on sharing the tax delinquent list. And so I get it from another investor. He shares the list every couple months.
I love it. How cool is that, everyone? That investors working together, even though they're competitors, right, they're helping each other, right? Just kind of how like Wholesaling Inc. and I, we help some of the same people, but we're building up those people together, right? Even though we're separate companies. I love that. What are some of the goals that you have now? Are you a one-man show? Is it just you, or do you have a team? Or
yeah, so I've struggled with. I've had someone take my calls. I had a virtual assistant. I let him go. I hired someone else. another virtual assistant. They weren't
Mhm.
really doing a good job, so I let them go. I hired someone to do my texting for me, another virtual assistant. And but technically I do everything. I do, dispositions, I do acquisitions. It's a busy day for me at the end of the day. So my goal is to, I think I'm going to hire an assistant to help me with my dispositions and my administrative work. And then I'm just looking to eventually hire an acquisitions manager to go alongside. And you've got a similar model that you provide in your material. You talk about basically hiring an acquisitions manager, bringing them alongside, with you, and eventually having them go on appointments. And now you're the guy, going, elk hunting and wherever it is while they're doing the work. So,
Right.
that's
Or
kind of where I'm
coaching,
going.
right? Like
Right.
I'm either in the mountains or I'm coaching. The funny thing is yeah, that's the beauty of building a business, right? Like a true business serves you, not you
Right.
don't serve your business. So that's it. That's good that that's your goal. One key piece of advice to get there and to build a foundation off of is if you go back into the course and follow the section in the DFD Mastery and the driving and the marketing course, I go over the importance of tracking your numbers.
Right.
Make sure you're following that key performance indicator tracker.
Mhm.
Because that is going to be the foundation of the health of your business. And that's really what allows me to have the freedom I have is that's what I look at. Like
Right.
I know exactly what problems we're having in our business by looking at those numbers once a week. And it takes me about 30 minutes. I go through and scan it. And if I see any major discrepancies off of the previous week, I go, what happened here? And they go, oh, this is the problem we're dealing with. We're taking care of it. Okay, great. And then it should be fixed by the next week. Right.
Right.
And so that's awesome stuff. What advice could you give or what what would you say to yourself, right, when you first started? What sage advice do you have now that you would tell yourself when you first started?
Well, honestly, the biggest struggles I had starting off were just with myself, just all the doubt that I had that I would be successful. I talked with someone like you. There was another guy that I spoke with. His name was Chris Silvis. He's out of Dallas, I believe, the Dallas area. And he was someone who's also doing a tremendous amount of business. And I thought when I was first starting that there's no way I would be able to come close to doing what these guys are doing. And so I would carry a lot of self-doubt with me. I'd wake up in the morning, I'm like, I'm wasting my time here. I should get my resume put together and just start, finding a job so I can support my family. And, I just decided that that's not what I want to do. And I knew what my why was from the very beginning. When you have to sit down in a room with your family and tell them, I told my two daughters that I lost my job, when they broke down and they started crying. So
Oh,
I knew right
man.
then and there that solidified my why, and that's what motivated me to do the things that I was uncomfortable with doing, because I knew that that's why I got up in the morning. That's why I did the things that I wasn't comfortable with, is because I had to for my family. So if I had to go back and say anything to myself, it's just get out of your own way. Don't doubt it, because everybody's got enough to be successful with this, with this business. It's just, you just got to get out of your own way and believe, at the end of the day, that's all it is.
So when you said in the beginning, you struggled to believe in yourself, do you look back now and kind of surprised?
Well,
Or like, how is that? Cause you're very, very successful. I didn't do the math. You did how many deals at $9,000 average? I mean, you're
yeah,
doing darn good.
yeah,
You're doing very, very good. I assume you're making more now than you ever did.
right,
Right.
right. And honestly, the way October is shaping up, there's a chance that I may make as much in October as I did in my corporate job in a year.
Wow.
So the
So
numbers
in
are,
1 month, you're gonna outdo your entire year,
that's
and
the goal,
that's 2 years. In 2 years,
right?
that's crazy. Like, so I'm not going to speak for you. Maybe you're more confident in me, but sometimes like I'll look at what I'm doing and I have to like pinch myself. Like I'll see notifications on my phone from 4 or 5 years ago. And it's like, what? Like that's where I was. That's only 5 years ago. It's pretty incredible. The amount of success we can when we just put our heads down and go to work and quit doubting ourselves.
Right.
So do you feel that at times? Do you feel like, is this real? Can I hold on to this?
I'll be honest, I still doubt myself. I still struggle with that. It doesn't linger, and I don't let it linger like it used to. I mean, I'll wake up, if I lose a deal falls through and I wasn't able to close on it, you know, I'll have a pity party and I'll beat myself to death.
I think we all do.
Yeah. But now it's only a part of a day or maybe a day that I deal with it. And then I just take that energy and put it into my next deal. So I don't waste time or energy focusing on the things that I didn't have any control over, and I just keep on moving forward.
I love it. I'll just share experience with you. When I was doing my window cleaning business, I was trying to get into real estate investing and I was doing house hacking. So I bought this beat up duplex and was living in one side and fixing up the other so I could rent it out. And I had 4 employees and I had like 6 employees worth of work. And one employee ended up leaving, and the other one talked the other employee into leaving and, poached him to start his own business. So I went from needing 6 employees, only having 3, down to 0, literally in the span of like a week. And I was trying to remodel my duplex myself because I don't have enough money to pay someone to do it at night. And I was newly married. And I remember going down into the basement apartment that I was supposed to be installing the carpet on. And I just rolled the carpet out on the cement floor and just lay down and sobbed. Right. Just wondering if I would ever be successful. And just feeling so defeated and frustrated by it. And, I have thoughts of like those moments and thoughts of that and like, wow, like where have I come from since then, and the cool thing is there's still things that I want to accomplish now that I'm like, I don't know if I'm capable. I don't know that I'm capable. And then as I continue to work and push, we find that we are capable, right? Because I was just a window cleaner, Bob. Like if, now people are like, oh, it's Zack, the wholesaler. Zack, he has this crazy YouTube channel for window cleaning. Like I had a guy walk up to me at the gym the other day when I was playing basketball. Like, dude, you're that YouTube window cleaning guy. And blah. I was laughing, I was like, no, I'm Zack. I'm just this goofy dude that, has been working hard and been so blessed. And I say this not to like brag, and you know that about me, Bob. I say this to try and inspire other people that they can do it too. Like that's the purpose of this, is to share your story, to share my story, to show people that they can do it. So what are some of the things that you do to get out of that funk? Because you said you still have those moments where you're struggling and you feel defeated, like when something doesn't go your way. You said now it's not all day, or you said it's not all day. It's not defeating. It may last a day or half a day. What do you do? How do you do that?
So the way that I overcome it is by just taking action, right? So there's always something to do in this business. I've got calls to follow up with. I've got appointments to go on. I can do some driving for dollars. So what I do is, instead of moping or just being upset with myself, I just focus on, okay, so it's 4 o'clock. I've got 2 more hours of the day that I can just focus on getting those calls out. So I just put my head down and push through it. I don't, even if I don't want to make those calls, no one, if you've been taking calls all week, I'll give you a quick example. It was I think either last week or the week before, where I worked hard all week long. I was pushing. I didn't have any good appointments that I went on. I didn't have any good calls, not a lot of motivated sellers. And it was 4:30 on a Friday. And I was just ready to quit for the day. And I decided, no, I've got more time. I can push through this. I've got more things to do. I got the best call all week on that at 4:30 on a Friday. I jumped in, I had an appointment that Saturday, I locked it up under contract, and that was a $33,000 assignment.
Wow.
That's hopefully closing in another week. So, you just have to just push through those challenges, those hard times, and you'll be rewarded. You just have to take consistent action, even when you don't feel like it, and that's ultimately all it takes. I'm not necessarily I don't have any special superpowers. I'm not a guru that knows a lot about real estate, but I will tell you that I work hard every day. I make those calls, I go on those appointments, even when I don't think it's going to work. I believe that there's a chance, and I just make it happen. And I know that I'm going to be successful going forward. If everything was taken away from me and I had to start over from scratch, I know enough now to be successful no matter what. So it's just a matter of believing in yourself and taking a lot of action each and every day.
Love it. Bob, if anyone's like getting started or wants to reach out to you and ask you questions or, get your advice on how they should get started, like, would it be okay if they reached out to you?
Absolutely. I do it all the time. They can contact me through Facebook. It's with my first name. It's Bob. I go by Robert or Bob. My mom called me Robert. My dad called me Bob, so I go by both. But it's Bob Antonie, Antonie, on Facebook. So connect with me, or that'd probably be the best way to go.
Cool. Love it. So go ahead and reach out to you through Facebook. Facebook Messenger is fine, you said?
Yep, that works.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. You are an amazing person. You have accomplished amazing things. There's so many people that I'm sure would love to be in the position that you are in. I love that you're so humble and at peace. I love that you shared some of those personal things that you still struggle with to that point, right? I think, sometimes we want to let our egos get in the way of our actual human selves, right? We all have our things and all have our struggles. So thank you so much for sharing those, because I think it'll allow other people to see that they can have feelings of inadequacy and still accomplish great things, truly. So thank you for sharing your story. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I'm glad to call you a friend, and I'm sure we'll talk a bunch more.
I appreciate you giving me the chance to talk with you, Zach. It's an honor.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.